Hello there, you're watching In Your Interest with me, Kabir Naqvi, right here on News 9. One family outing ends in death after a violent elephant clash at a tourist camp. And the Supreme Court cracks down on India's growing stray dog issue, putting public safety above all else. So tonight on In Your Interest, are our systems failing both humans and animals? And has India finally reached a breaking point when it comes to managing wildlife and the strays? But before that, the top headlines we're tracking for you. Prime Minister Narendra Modi participates in the third India-Nordic Summit in Oslo, says India and the Nordic nations stay united against terrorism with no compromise and no double standards. The Prime Minister also stressing urgent reforms that are needed when it comes to the global multilateral institutions.
हम इस बात पर सहमत हैं कि मल्टीलेटरल इंस्टीट्यूशंस का रिफॉर्म आवश्यक भी है और अर्जेंट भी है और टेररिज्म पर भी हमारा क्लियर और यूनाइटेड स्टैंड है नो कॉम्प्रोमाइज
Setback for Umar Khalid as Delhi court dismisses interim bail in the Delhi riots 2020 case. Umar sought 15-day interim bail to attend her mother's surgery. The dowry death horror continues. Tuisha's family addresses the media today, demands for a second post-mortem. The family alleges that it was an orchestrated crime, a premeditated one. And just 48 hours before the Falta by-polls, TMC candidate Jahangir Khan withdraws his name from the contest, cites personal reasons. TMC says this is his personal decision, not the party's. In a major move, the Supreme Court has ordered euthanasia of rabid and dangerous dogs and refuses to modify its earlier directions on removal of stray dogs from the public places. We will tell you all about it. Stay tuned. For years now, the debate over stray dogs in India has been a bitter tug-of-war between public safety and animal rights. And now, in a landmark order, the Supreme Court has made its stance crystal clear, signaling a massive shift in how our streets are going to be managed. Let us first be clear about what today's ruling does and does not say. The Supreme Court has not ordered the mass killings of stray dogs. What it has done is far more targeted and in many ways far more significant. It is said that dogs picked up from schools, hospitals, the railway stations, the bus stands and other high-footfall public spaces must not be released back to the same location after sterilization or vaccination. They must go to shelters. It is said that dogs which are rabid, incurably ill or pose a clear danger to human life can be euthanized, but only after a vet's assessment. The court didn't mince its words today. It stated that the right to life under Article 21 includes the right of every citizen to move freely without the constant fear of being attacked. And this comes after a string of heartbreaking incidents involving children, the elderly, and even foreign tourists. It has directed every state and union territory to set up at least one animal birth control center per district. It has asked the states to ensure adequate stocks of anti-rabies vaccines and immunoglobulins, and it has put officials on notice, warning that those who fail to implement these directions will face contempt of court and disciplinary action. Now, the court has also done something quite unusual. It has directed high courts across the country to register suo motu cases to monitor whether these directives and directions are actually being followed on the ground. And in other words, the Supreme Court is not leaving implementation to the discretion of state governments. This particular case did not arrive at today's verdict overnight. It has been through several significant turns over the past 9 months. In August last year, A two-judge bench took suo motu cognizance of a newspaper report about a child's death due to a dog bite in the National Capital Region. And the initial order was sweeping. All stray dogs in Delhi NCR were to be picked up and confined to shelters. That order generated enormous pushback from animal welfare groups, the activists, and the matter was referred to a larger three-judge bench. The bench modified the direction, restoring the ABC framework of sterilization, vaccination, and release. But in November last year, the court went further, specifically targeting public institutions and barring dogs from sensitive, high-footfall spaces. Animal activists filed multiple applications to recall those directions. The court heard them at length, and today it rejected every single one of them. The blame, in the court's own words, lies with prolonged inaction and absence of institutional commitment. The dogs are not on trial here. The system that failed to manage these stray dogs is the actual system on trial, and the animal welfare community is not accepting today's verdict quietly either. The core argument from activists, including veteran animal rights campaigner Maneka Gandhi, is that the infrastructure simply does not exist to implement this order humanely. Shelters across India are already at or beyond capacity. Municipal bodies are underfunded and understaffed. Vet and veterinary resources are stretched. If dogs are removed from public spaces in large numbers and there is nowhere humane to house them, the order does not solve the problem. It displaces it, or worse, it creates conditions for mass suffering away from the public view. And then there is also a legitimate concern about the euthanasia provision. The order says dogs that are rabid or dangerous can be put down after the vet's assessment. But who conducts these assessments? Under what conditions and with what accountability? In the hands of an underfunded and sometimes indifferent municipal machinery, the line between a dangerous dog and an inconvenient one can blur very quickly. And these are not frivolous arguments. They are grounded in public health evidence and field experience. The question is whether the system can be trusted to implement the court's directions with the care and rigor that they actually demand. The verdict is clear. The directions are specific, but the ground reality in most Indian cities and towns tells a different story. Shelter capacity across the country falls far short of the stray dog population. The vehicles, the staff, the vet personnel needed to carry out removals at scale do not exist in adequate numbers in most municipal bodies. And state budgets for animal welfare are among the first to be cut when finances are tight. And in several states, legal challenges and street-level protests by animal lovers have made even routine dog management operations politically sensitive. We've got an esteemed set of panelists, an exclusive chit-chat that's coming your way as well. Big questions that we're trying to understand. Do Indian states have the shelter capacity and the vet workforce to implement this humanely? And without strict oversight and under pressure from the Supreme Court, how will authorities ensure that vet assessments for euthanasia aren't misused to simply clear the streets of the healthy dogs? And what happens when the next child is attacked, while compliance reports are still being filed out by those understaffed workers? With us on the broadcast, Anirudh Ravindra, animal rights activist and co-founder, Prana Animal Foundation. Many thanks for taking out the time. And Mr. B.S. Vora, President, East Delhi RWA Joint Front, also with us on the broadcast. Gentlemen, do stay on with us. I earlier spoke to Maneka Gandhi, former Union Minister and founder, People for Animals. And this is what she had to say on this latest ruling by the Supreme Court, that this essentially is not a new ruling. The Supreme Court has washed its hands of the matter. In the last 7 months, nothing has been done by the government. No ABC center. There is not a single shelter that's been built. The Delhi and the National Capital Region had about 20 of those. It now stands at 10. So what's her assessment? Quickly listen into this and then we'll come back to our panelists.
The Supreme Court has today given no new ruling at all. In fact, the Supreme Court has washed their hands of the matter by admitting defeat. 7 months ago, in November, they asked the government to do 5 things. One is to make shelters. 2, to make ABC centers. Number 3, to remove the dogs from universities, hospitals, railway stations, and bus stops. In 7 months, the government of India and any state government has not made a single ABC center, a single shelter, including in Delhi. In Delhi, you had 20 ABC centers, now you have 10. So it's gone the other way around. And not a single one of the 54,000 universities has taken out a single dog because there are no shelters nowhere. And also because the students' movement is very, very pro-dog. Secondly, and all the railway stations have said we can't take out dogs from railway stations because it's an open field. Dogs come from all over the place, as do monkeys and other animals in search of food. But 10,000 people go there every hour upon the hour. How do we protect them? Now, hospitals have refused for the same reason, that our gates are open. Patients come in. Each patient brings 10 family people who feed animals there while waiting. Yeah. How do we stop this? So in 7 months, the government has not done one titch button. Now, the Supreme Court has lost a massive opportunity to do a scientific judgment. What they could have done was to just do two things. If they'd done two things, the problem would be over immediately. Right. One is to recognize that the ABC program in India is a failure only because the government, there is massive corruption in it. Municipalities are raking in money while pretending to sterilize and not sterilize. There are mafia groups that have taken 20 districts, one person, without a doctor, without a setup. He's been given contracts to do sterilization. In Madhya Pradesh, they found one district in which not one sterilization had been done, but 1,600 dogs had been paid for at the rate of 2,000 rupees each. Okay? To that one person who was a government servant himself, his wife had been given the NGO. So in Chennai, one NGO has taken 11 district contracts without having one doctor. So if you're going to do that, the Supreme Court could have said two things, which I would even now say. 780 districts, make 780 ABC centers. Train 780 NGOs. Every district has got animal welfare people. But do you know how many NGOs are trained in the whole of India? 16.
Well, the entire interview is out there on our social media platforms and our media verse as well. And we're going to continue to play some more excerpts as well. But to Mr. Anirudh Ravindra with us on the broadcast, animal rights activist, co-founder of Prana Animal Foundation. Sir, you see, the animal lovers out there, they argue that relocation and then you've got poor implementation that worsen the aggression in the dog. And we'll come to euthanasia in just a bit. For the ordinary citizen out there, I remember speaking to you back in November, August as well. For the ordinary citizen out there, what kind of a story is this? Is this a governance story? Is this a story about urban collapse? For the ordinary citizen who gets bitten out there on the streets, outside a school, outside a hospital, at the railway station, how long can society at large really wait for an ideal system to come at play? What's your opinion here?
Sir, this is... speaking of India has become a functioning poverty now. It functions, but there is a large amount of grassroots poverty, grassroots corruption, in fact, which is happening. So even if we try to implement so many things or the orders which are coming out, even if we try to implement those things, there is a huge gap between whether it is going to happen or not. So a person who's going to get bitten tomorrow, who is he going to go to? That is the pressure. Is it the government? Is it the Supreme Court? Who is going to be answerable? Because like Menaka ma'am said, we hardly have any NGOs. So even in Bangalore, I'm from Bangalore. So Bangalore, we have about 4 to 5 NGOs which have this authority to perform ABCs, and AWBI isn't giving that much of preferences right now to the other NGOs which want to actually conduct this program. If there is lot of restrictions on the NGOs to conduct these programs, and there's a large amount of failure with regards to ABCs which have been already done. So this was tried to implement. The ABC was tried in 2008, now it has been 2026. Still we haven't got the result. Again, it is going to be the same thing until unless we curb the poverty, corruption. So until the corruption is curbed, I think this is going to happen, and we are going to sit again and talk about this again months probably from now. But maybe this November we'll be talking about this again. So to have this
there is a problem. There is administrative lapses that are on account. We've understood that there is clear-cut administrative apathy, bureaucratic apathy, but do the animal welfare groups, even today with all the cases that are coming to light, And with all said and done, everything right there on the table, with the lack of money, with the lack of the NGOs, with the lack of the shelters, with the lack of, staffing at those NGOs and at those shelters, do the animal welfare groups really accept that the current stray dog situation has become a genuine public safety concern?
It depends upon the perspective again. But actually the problem is with the governance itself. If we had done the right ABC, if the program was well done, then I don't think it would have been a problem. But there is a failure in the governance. There is a failure with how it is being done right now. So that is why we are facing this issue. Definitely the issue exists. I can never say the issue is not going to exist. The issue exists. But the implementation level is a huge problem, and veterinarians, actually, they are going to have a very difficult time because the municipalities have to agree. This will be on contracts and the money coming in, going in. It's going to be a huge task, and no young veterinarian wants to work in this field. They can't be, salaries can't be held for 4 to 5 months together. There is a lot of issues which are going to happen.
So then, what I understand is that we're completely doomed. Then this is why we're back to square one, isn't it? Nobody wants to work. Nobody wants to put in the right kind of effort. Those that are sitting there are probably corrupt, like you mentioned. So we're not going to get anywhere, are we? What's the end game here? Let me bring in Mr. Vora also. He's been patiently waiting. Mr. Vora, what's your assessment? You see, the animal lover out there will suggest and ask, who decides when a dog is aggressive? Who decides what dog is aggressive? Because with that comes the misuse of, indiscriminate culling, comes the misuse of the local authorities. I mean, the entire order can be abused by those that are calling a dog rabid or aggressive.
See, our system has absolutely failed in maintaining a balance between humans and animals. Whatever Maneka ji has said as well, Mr. Anuruddh just said, it must be seriously looked into. It must be seriously dealt with. The point is that the public safety cannot be ignored or compromised due to the rising menace of dog bite and dog attacks at the public places. Citizens cannot have a fear of moving out and chased by stray dogs, a pack of dogs, and with the risk of attacks and dog bites, etc. One of our close family member recently was attacked by a dog. She fell down and her nose was badly bitten. She was rushed to a hospital where all the surgeries, plastic surgery treatment was done, and just think of the mental trauma and physical torture faced by that lady. It's not acceptable. We are not anti-dogs. We are not. We are also animal lovers. But such kind of behavior from dogs and dog lovers, we can't bear. We can't face it. How we can allow stray dogs on the roads, on the stations, on the markets, who can come and bite anyone, anytime, anywhere? But still, we will say that whatever Supreme Court has said must be implemented in a humanitarian way. Dogs must be.
But sir, that's what the animal activists are saying. Mr. Vora, that the animal activists are saying that it's not possible. To implement it in a humane manner is not possible. We don't have the infrastructure, we don't have the money, and we even lack the intent.
See, let's start as per the Supreme Court orders, and if there are any issues, we can go to the court again for the further guidelines, for the further details. But we can't sit hand on hands. We can't sit idle by saying that we don't have the opportunity, we don't have the shelters, we don't have the ABC framework. Why the ABC framework has failed? Who is responsible for that? Who is accountable for that? Why the persons are getting bitten by dogs on the roads? Whose fault is that? We must look into each and everything. We must start with the implementation order. And if there are any issues, we must go to the court for the future guidelines, further guidelines, so that the issue could be resolved. We are not against dogs, but we need a resolution. We need a solution to the problem, so that we don't have to face any dog chase when we go out on a morning or evening walk.
Anirudh, look at what the RW head here is talking about. I understand, when somebody says, why should my child become collateral damage? Whilst the system debates compassion. And, the RWAs and those that are against the animal lovers out there, they have a valid question when they say, how can compassion come at the cost of, a youngster's life? How can compassion come at the cost of anybody's life, rather, or somebody's dignity? Article 21, those are fundamental rights that the people are now talking about. So, one can't sit idle. And it's not a matter about perspective now. So, what needs to be done? Everybody is going to say, this. Well, the person accountable was in the previous government. That person will say, well, the person accountable was in the previous government. It's going to go back to the first time the act was enabled. I mean, we're again going to come back to square one. In all scenarios, we're again coming back to square one. So are we really moving forward in any direction?
No, definitely not. I completely agree with sir right now that these dogs, the aggressive ones which have to be caught and taken to the shelters, all these kinds of things, I agree with you. But who is going to decide if the dogs are aggressive or not? Because the same person would have, actually, pelted the dog with stones or something would have happened. So that might be one of the things. But I'm not going to tell.
No, but as per the government
also
order, there are supposed to be 3 vets that will decide whether the dog is aggressive, whether the dog is, rabid. And if the dog is aggressive and rabid, do you think they should be put down?
Definitely. Who decides? I don't know why even the veterinarian. And again, who is the veterinarian who is going to decide? How is it?
No, I understand there could be problems in who the vet is, who selects the vet. Who selects the vet? But if the vet, and if by due process we come to a conclusion that the dog is rabid or aggressive, is it okay to put it down?
Not the aggressive ones, because they have to understand what is the behavior of it. I don't completely. I don't agree with putting down the aggressive dogs. And rabid dogs dies on its own. 5 days to 10 days of observation, it dies on its own. So there is a lot of misinformation which has happened. And mostly I will tell you about this aggressive dog. When we talk about this aggressive dog being caught, it is very difficult to catch these dogs. These dogs are very timid. So there is a problem. The friendly dogs will be caught, and this problem will exist. There will not be a change in where the aggressive dogs are taken. All these friendly dogs which are in the neighborhood will be caught because they are the ones which are easy to catch, and they will be taken to the shelter. They want numbers because Supreme Court wants numbers now. They want to take it to, they have asked High Court to see what is going to happen. So what I believe is the friendly dogs which are actually protecting the neighborhood will be caught, rather than the aggressive ones. So there is a lot of loopholes which is going to happen in the coming days if we try to implement this. But Supreme Court is very clear on its stance right now. So let's see if they can implement this.
The Supreme Court has also reprimanded, the state authorities as well. They've reprimanded the municipalities. They're not happy with any kind of work that has happened over the last 7 months. I spoke about it exactly with Menaka Gandhiji again, and spoke to her about what is the next legal course that is available to these animal, welfare activists as well. Listen into what Menaka Gandhi had to say.
Let anybody go to High Court now. We'll fight it there. The point is, Supreme Court has acknowledged that government has not done one titch button of thing. No dog has left any public space. No dog has left an institution. No ABC centers have been made. No shelters have been made. No money has been put by the government of India. The same government of India, which is paying 3,000 rupees per woman in every state they go to election in. Surely they can put the same amount of money into making ABC centers. Even a city like Faridabad, which is doing a good ABC job, has had to take one house on rent because they didn't have an ABC center. So I'm saying you take 780 houses on rent. Chalo. Make those into ABC centers instead of spending on bricks and mortar. Train 780 NGOs, give them the contracts, pay them a respectable amount, and be done with it. And monitoring committees. Not a single district has got a monitoring committee. So the contracts are all going to fake NGOs. Last night, in the Prime Minister's own constituency, there at 7 o'clock at night, a senior engineer of the Heidel colony in Varanasi decided that government servants don't need dogs. So he brought in private vans, he loaded up 50 dogs, and he went and he threw them into a slum colony. All right? We spent the whole night getting them back. Now, where are the bites coming from? Whether a German tourist or an Indian tourist, they are important to me. Any child that gets bitten is my child. The point is, who are they? Let us do a survey of who's being bitten. 90% of the bites are of poor people, poor and lower middle class colonies. And why? Because the RWAs and the government colonies are picking up dogs and throwing them at night into poorer colonies. Now, when a dog gets relocated, he is frightened, he is hungry, he doesn't know what to do, he is going to bite somebody. Suppose right to live with dignity, if we're going to invoke Article 21, then let us invoke it for everything. I have the right to live with clean air. But because of government mismanagement, 16 lakh people die every year of air pollution. I have the right to live without pesticides in my food. How many lakh people have died of lead poisoning in this country? How many people, 10,500 people die daily of being hit by cars? Do I not have the right to walk on
No,
the
you're
roads
absolutely
without...
right, ma'am. You're
So are we
absolutely
going
right.
to invoke Article 21 for just dogs, or are we going to apply it all over the place?
I think the court has reprimanded the authorities as well. The court clearly observed that, the state cannot remain a mere bystander when you've got children, elderly citizens, foreign visitors that continue to face these threats. Do you think with these kind of, raps on the knuckles, now the authorities are going to start working, or it's going to be the same lackadaisical attitude that we've been seeing for the longest time?
Well, since the Supreme Court has not ordered any money into the program, since the Supreme Court has now said, don't come back to us, whether you do it or you don't do it, go to high courts. So why should anybody worry about it? It will be business as usual. If they called the chief secretaries last time and threatened them and said, if in 3 months you don't put your houses right, we will show you. And in 3 months, in 7 months, they didn't touch anything. Do you think they're going to get scared now?
Well, Menka Gandhi, quite vociferous when it comes to voice for the voiceless, and rightly so. She's been at it for such a long time. Mr. Vora, coming back to the Supreme Court and strong backing for public safety, isn't this a credible concern by the animal activists, for all those animal lovers out there, that when the authorities start implementing what the Supreme Court has said, which is your opinion as well, let's start implementing what the Supreme Court has said, then we'll see what problems and niggles come out. This overzealous implementation is going to lead to mass culling, it's going to lead to cruelty, it's going to lead to illegal culling, all in the name of actual enforcement. And we've seen it before also, Mr. Vora, that all those animal feeders outside the colonies, outside the residential apartments, they get ostracized. They get called all kinds of names, and they get bullied out there on the streets. What's to say that this won't happen this time?
See, first of all, I would like to say that there are no reports. We have got no reports that RWAs are throwing out the stray dogs in the poor colonies. Secondly, we have no problem with any numbers of ABC centers. We are ready with that. That's acceptable to us, because if the issue can be resolved amicably, there's no problem. And whatever being said by Menka ji or Anuruddh ji, we are supporting them, we are with them, we are standing with the animals. We too want that animals.
I'm actually quite happy you say that, Mr. Vora. I'm actually quite happy you said that. I just want to understand, because I'm little privy with the RWA setup, where each RWA is a little different from the other. It's the people who make the Residential Welfare Association. Do you think the RWAs need to take a little step forward in those meetings? How often do people talk about? I mean, of course, the WhatsApp messages and the complaints about stray dogs, they happen all the time. But do we need to now take a step further? Maybe ask everybody to pitch in, donate, fund in for a shelter nearby their own vicinity. Something that the RWAs themselves can do a little bit. I mean, I'm just thinking out loud here, sir.
See, we are ready to talk and meet any number of RWAs, any number of NGOs for a meeting to amicably decide any ABC centers, any stray houses, anything, because the purpose is to resolve the issue amicably. We are too worried about the stray dogs. We are too worried about any cruelty to the animals, and we are not supporting that. But if Supreme Court has given any order, let's begin with that. And besides, we, the RWAs, the NGOs, Menka Gandhi, all, we can sit together. We can take more steps. We can plan shelter homes and everything together. And the issue must be resolved at any cost, because we don't want any more dog bites on the roads, any more dog chases on the road, and that's final.
Okay. So the RWA word is also final. The Supreme Court's verdict is also final. Mr. Anuruddh, the essential argument coming from the animal activists is, of course, that there is no money, there's no intent, and that cruelty and displacement is going to end up worsening this so-called aggression, because of which you will end up putting down the dog. How does that essentially help the person who has gotten bitten today, let's say? The RWA is saying, why should we become collateral? Animal welfare associations are saying, why should the dogs become collateral? And the court has warned of contempt if the authorities are going to fail in this execution. So, do you think now the situation is going to be a little different, let's say, what it was 8 to 9 months back?
It is not going to be different. Probably the first 2 months is going to be very enthusiastic for these officials to try to do something. There are shelters being built. around Bangalore and some of the areas which I know in Hyderabad and other places, but it can't house it. But this is if the problem exists for everyone, I think everyone has to come together, be it NGO or be it with the residents or the citizens, anyone. So what I would suggest, if this is possible, because I know it is not possible, let's have a tax on animal welfare also. Let there be a tax. Let citizens pay tax so that we can have a better monitoring community, better ABCs, better NGOs. So let's start taxing people for that also. I think we have tax for everything else. Even for a single, if you buy something, we are paying tax. So let's have it for animal welfare and let's tax people. Let us all pay to let this financial crisis be resolved by paying taxes, and I think we can have a better ABCs which are going to happen, better stance in the coming days. But definitely,
I think in both of your submissions, Mr. Vora's as well and Anirudh, yours as well. You see, for the activists, this seems like the biggest question is, what is a realistic model, right? That's one question that can be put out to the activists. What is the realistic model? I was speaking to Menka Gandhi ji as well. I urge all the viewers to check that out on our Mediaverse as well. But, to Mr. Vora, I'll ask you a question. See, with what all the animal welfare associations and the dog lovers are trying to say, and like you said, you're also a dog lover. You're not a dog hater, but the biting and the chasing on the roads have to stop. It's happening for a reason. That's what the animal lovers are saying, that this biting, this aggression, it happens for a reason, because ABC methods aren't being carried out properly. All the NGOs are understaffed. Those who are carrying out this work don't have the money to do this work. So this capacity question, why is the RWA, don't you think there is a lack of voice against the authorities? There is a lack of voice against the government. Why was capacity not built? Why was this so low in the priority pecking order? Isn't that something that the citizens should come out and speak and voice up against?
See, our Delhi government has got a budget of 1 lakh crore. Can't we expect from Delhi government to share a few hundred crores to make shelters at different places so that the animals and dogs can be shifted to those places? And the NGOs as well, RWS, can be asked to look after those shelters so that dogs are not hurt in any way.
Yeah.
We are ready for any kind of solution.
Okay, but you think, but you see, Mr. Vora, that's not happening, and that's a very noble suggestion that has come to the table, but it's not really happening. And maybe RWA heads like yourself can maybe raise this issue next time when you're in your meeting, and this can probably happen. But I'll take your particular concern to Mr. Anirudh again. See, Mr. Vora here is saying that it can happen. The government is not willing to do it. So you're calling the government corrupt. RWA is saying that we're ready to help, but the authorities are not helping them out as well. The Supreme Court says that, look, public safety is paramount. So we're back to square one again. Even after this discussion, long discussion, we're again back to square one. So when I ask you, I've asked, sir, why not question capacity that was never built? What is the realistic model over here, Anirudh? The two things that you'd like to change instantly.
Eradicate corruption. That is the first thing. If it is
that's
possible.
not happening anytime soon. I mean, it's great that you've said it, Anirudh, but it's not going to happen anytime soon.
That is the only solution here, because whatever we can talk, we can ideally fantasize on these things where there is going to be a stray-free country like India. Like I said, India is a very functioning poverty. People work, but we don't have that kind of capacity to do it because there is a lot of mismanagement which is happening, because I don't want to use the word again and again. Lot of mismanagement happening throughout the system, from a single person who is supposed to pick the dog to the person who actually gives the order to do it.
Okay. Anirudh, right in the beginning, you had said that, it matters, it depends on perspective. And you had also said that, under the garb of picking up a rabid or an aggressive dog, you might just pick up somebody, a friendly dog that's protecting the neighborhood. Yes. That's what you said. The Supreme Court has now allowed legally permissible euthanasia for quote-unquote rabid and demonstrably dangerous dogs. Who decides whether the dog is dangerous or rabid is a separate question. But where should that line essentially be drawn between compassion for animals and protection for human life? Do you think the Supreme Court is right when it said so?
AWBI has already given the SOP that there should be an animal welfare committee formed in each and every RWA, and even in the societies and even in the neighborhood. So there should be an assessment of what is an aggressive dog foremost. That is very important, because if you see a dog, you don't like it, you can't just decide that.
Mr. Vora, does your RWA have an animal welfare society or committee?
we are looking after almost most of the things that are the civic issues. So far, this issue has never come in front of us.
Okay.
But
well,
if there's such kind of problem, we are definitely going to discuss it with our
maybe Mr.
with our
Vora, you
members.
can lead by example, and your RWA can lead by example. But you know, all in all, silver linings in both of your arguments. I think we're going to leave it here. This is not going to end anytime soon. The Supreme Court has drawn a hard line. Public safety can no longer be held hostage to poor implementation, administrative apathy, or endless policy paralysis. As we move on from courtroom orders to now ground action, the real test is going to be whether the system can protect human lives without losing its humanity towards animals, because that's our actual humane ethos. Mr. Anirudh and Mr. Vora, many thanks for taking out the time and speaking to us here on News9. We're going to slip into a quick commercial breather here. Our other story about human and animal conflict, this is pertaining to the elephant tussle that happened down south. Don't go anywhere.
New Birla Opus enamel paint gives up to 10% extra coverage. Who believes that?
I believe.
I do.
I believe it too. New Birla Opus enamel paint gives up to 10% extra coverage on metal surfaces. That's why it's the new paint for a new era.
First Battle of Panipat.